This week in the security news, why we should hate AI when firmware attacks, the 300-second breach, old ways still work, AI might be able to help. And so begins the crawler wars. Turn off your SonicWall VPN. Your Pi may be wrapped in Pi. Attackers find a way. Signed kernel drivers, D-Link on the Kev, Rasperry Pis attack, Stealthy LoRa, LLMs don't commit code, people do. James Bond-style rescue with drones, SRAM has no chill, and in the full view of the public. All that and more on this episode of Paul Security Weekly. This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly. Your company runs on Google Workspace, but it's an afterthought for most security tools. Material Security is the first and only platform purpose-built to protect Google Workspace, securing email, data, and user accounts from advanced threats. From blocking sophisticated phishing attacks in Gmail to preventing unauthorized app usage and fixing risky file sharing in G Drive, Material continuously protects your data. Don't settle for second best. Protect Google Workspace with Material Security. Learn more at securityweekly.com/material security. Whenever we talk to security teams, one thing is clear. They are under more pressure than ever, facing increasingly complex and higher stakes threats. That's where Flashpoint comes in. Flashpoint empowers organizations to make mission-critical decisions to keep their people and assets safe. Flashpoint combines cutting-edge technology with expert intelligence teams, empowering security leaders with the critical data and alerts and analysis needed to act before threats escalate. And with Ignite, Flashpoint's award-winning threat intelligence platform, you get access to real-time insights, finished intelligence, and analytics all in one place. Learn more at securityweekly.com/Flashpoint. Coming to you from Hacker Syndicate Studios, this is Paul Security Weekly. It's episode number 886, being recorded on Wednesday, August 6th, 2025. I'm Paul Sidorian. We're in the midst of Hacker Summer Camp, but we're not there. We're here in the studio and at home. Larry is actually here in the studio.
We're not there yet.
Larry's going tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning.
Yep. Tomorrow morning. Yep. Good for you. Thanks for doing the show tonight.
No
You're
problem.
a trooper.
Yep. And so tomorrow morning I leave for DEF CON. I come home Monday. I'm home for a day, and then I turn around and I go to Australia for 10 days.
Godspeed, man.
Oof.
Godspeed.
I have one day to do laundry and repack.
That's it. Sam Bound is here with us. Sam, welcome.
Good evening. Glad to be here.
Mr. Josh Marpet is here with us. Josh, welcome.
Of course, in my palatial studio, as you can see. It's just amazing how beautiful the carving is, isn't it?
Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here.
For those listening to the audio, Josh is on a green screen, but it's just green. It's
just
fine.
green.
We get it. We don't need to go in the explanation of it. It's whatever. It's fine.
Josh, is your name Emerson?
Quick announcement. Just if you want to watch the show live Wednesday evenings, 6 p.m. Eastern time, you can go to our Discord channel. Discord server channel PSW will be the link is always in there. Also, if you're not on our Discord server, you can get an invite by going to securityweekly.com/Discord. That is a permanent invite. I don't think we talked about the Discord hack scam thing where people used Discord invites.
No, we did last week.
We did. Okay. So we did talk about that. So now when I say it, I always think I'm like, are we protecting it? A good time to go through your Discord invites if you're a server admin and nix all of the cruft in there. What else? We want to talk about a couple things at the top of the show.
Yes.
Before we forgot.
Yes.
Larry, go ahead.
Yeah. So we've been talking about hardware and in the past we've done segments on like our home firewall and all this type of stuff. Well, 6 months ago, my firewall that we built, where we talked about the builds in that show, went.
Oh yeah, those things run forever.
Went bad, and the reason it went bad is that it was running an operating system off of a thumb drive.
Well, run forever until the other day.
Yeah, and that was 6 months ago. That was 6 months ago. And in the meantime, I put in this like temporary Nighthawk router that I just had sitting around to get me through.
Nighthawks are pretty good,
but not for what we do. I mean, it worked for a
True,
temporary
yeah.
solution to stream some YouTube and get on Zoom calls.
We
and that
like to
type of
turn
stuff.
the knobs and adjust the sliders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And be able to run our own servers and
Sure.
do firewall rules and VPN servers and you name it. So I got that fixed. I replaced the thumb drive. I got it working on absolute latest version of pfSense, you name it. And then last Thursday.
I love this part of the
Last
story.
Inch
Thursday
by
night,
inch, step
we had
by
a
step.
Slowly he turned. Yeah, so slowly he turned, and we ended up with a power outage at home.
Oh no!
Which should have been fine because we have Tesla
solar,
Powerwalls
yeah.
and solar, and then but all of a sudden internet wasn't working, and I'm like, what the hell? Why is the internet not working? So at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm trying to figure out. Still at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm trying to figure out why internet's not working. To the point that I'm actually tracing Romex from basement outlets over to the panel. Sure enough, all of the basement outlets, except for one that supports our sump pump, is not on the panel that is fed by solar and the backup.
Right.
But all these other times, internet has stayed up.
UPS?
There was a dual failure in the UPSs on some of my equipment had failed, and specifically the UPS that backup powered the ONT.
Yes.
And the battery backup in the ONT had failed.
Well, those always fail. I feel like they designed those to fail.
They last like a year or two, and that's it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we have to come out, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna put a UPS on it.
If
like, screw you.
But in any case, the UPS that had also failed was the one that my pfSense firewall was also plugged into. So hence why the internet was down. Like, great, no problem. Power will come back on. Everything will boot back up. It'll be fine. See you in the morning. Get up the next morning. Go to grab some coffee, throw on some YouTube, can't connect to the internet from the TV. Like, what's going on? So I go downstairs, I check all the breakers, everything is good. Firewall was on. So I have to dig out a VGA monitor, plug the VGA monitor in, and it says, oh, hey, by the way, something happened with your BIOS CMOS reverted to defaults. Press F1. I'm like,
it does that.
Now I got to find a keyboard. So I press F1, it boots up, and it looks like everything's good. IP address is assigned, nothing. I end up having to step through sitting in the basement on like the floor, looking up at the monitor that's on the top of my rack, and reassign both external and internal interfaces to the adapters.
Oh, it's weird.
And then I can ping stuff on the inside and I can ping stuff on the outside.
But never the twain shall meet.
But it won't route traffic. So I'm like, well, you know what? We'll fix that. Reboot it. So I reboot it, and it comes back up, and I can't ping anything on the inside. I can't ping anything on the outside. I reassign the addresses. I can ping things on the outside, pings things on the outside. It won't route traffic. At this point, it's like 10 o'clock, and I have this emergency that I need to deal with at work like an hour ago. So
how convenient your internet isn't working.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So plug the Nighthawk router back in, get working, go to Amazon and order a Unify Gateway Pro.
Ooh.
I mean, it was $129.
Yeah.
And I plugged it in.
Not bad.
It came in. I plugged it in Sunday. Beautiful.
Oh, I was going to say, if it didn't route traffic, I was going to be really fucking weird.
I set it up with the app. There was just a couple of oddities with the app that like, oh, hey, you're not connected to the internet. Yeah, no shit, because I'm connected to the network you're connected to and you can't connect to the internet. And I need to assign a static IP on the outside. Like, okay. God. So a little bit of shuffling back and forth because I'm smart, get it figured out, and it's running the network now. And I just now need to import all of my access points and like, but
I'm told you have to, when you make that cutover, do everything like, there's no migration tool.
Nope, there's no migration. You have to re-adopt it.
All your access points.
Yeah.
And
which at this point is probably some I need to get rid of and replace with new ones, which I need to re-adopt anyway, because I got some really crusty old ones.
I mean, I've got some arguably crusty old ones, but they work exactly what I need them for. They're in the mesh to do what they need to do.
Give you firmware updates for some of the older ones, or do they stop? Yeah,
I mean, from the ones I have are new enough that they still get firmware updates.
I think
to the best of my knowledge,
as long as you're getting firmware updates for them, I'm like,
screw it.
Yep. And quite honestly, like, I think I had multiple networks in the house, and some of them were legacy for migration. And I think just everything should just move over to the other stuff. Yeah. Basically, if it falls off the network at this point, it probably needs to be replaced.
Yeah, sure.
The only thing that I think it will have problems with is for whatever reason, I remember that my Tesla power walls would not connect to the network that I used for the house. It had to be on this other legacy network that I had, which should have been on the same thing because it's running on the same damn Ubiquiti hardware.
Right.
But who knows? Yep, maybe the name's too long. I don't know. Maybe. But
now you're making me want to spend money. Now I want to go replace which doesn't need to be replaced, but
Dream Machine Pro. Dream Machine Pro.
That's what Tyler told me. Dream Machine Pro.
Honestly,
what are they, like $500?
$350.
Yeah. Okay. I think the ones I was looking at. Yeah, I did I shopped for them, and I couldn't pull the trigger.
The Dream Machine Pro also has the spot for the hard drive, so you can put the cameras on them as well. You can put the unified cameras on them.
But then you got to buy the cameras, and if you want to do those cameras, right?
You go on Reddit Home Lab sale, and cameras are always on there for $20, $50, $100.
The only one that I would have done that I would have thought was great to support the hard drive to start migrating some of the cameras is the door locks.
Yeah.
The access stuff I haven't played with. I don't know.
There was a vulnerability in Ubiquiti's access stuff recently.
The only problem with the door locks,
you have to modify the doors.
Yeah. They require hardwired Ethernet.
Oh.
No Wi-Fi on the door locks.
Interesting.
Well, the problem is they're powered, so they have to hardwire power because they are not battery connected.
Yeah.
So as long as you're doing power, they're like, just use wired Ethernet. It's not a big deal.
Exactly. So do you have to replace the lock mechanism in addition to, I'm assuming, some kind of servo or?
No. It's a strike.
You're replacing the strike plate.
The strike plate. And you have to chisel out the frame to put a powered strike in, and you have to run 12 volt to the strike.
I think it will do power over Ethernet for that.
And then is it like RFID?
The strike is not the access control. So you have the strike, which releases the door, and then you have the access control, which is an RFID or some other system.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have codes, and I think they have RFID. I think if I remember
either way, the fact that it required me to run Ethernet to the doors I wanted to do that, because if you're not designing for that now,
that could be problematic.
If you're not doing that when you build it, forget it.
Yeah, I mean,
my house was built in 1974. It's not it doesn't have Ethernet anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And our house, like I think about putting this in my front door. The door has windows that are close enough to it.
Yes, mine too.
That go almost
side panels.
That go almost all the way to the ground, but it between the door and the window is exactly 6 2x4s or 2x6s. It's 2x6 construction. Nope, not
like you said. If you're not designing for it when you build the house,
right? You're not doing it.
That's really designed for like industrial enterprise.
Absolutely.
So
that was my fun hardware thing.
Oh, I love it.
But you had one that you wanted to make sure you talked about.
So because last week we talked about the Flipper Zero story that came from that weird SA. I forget what SAN stands for. And they ran in a story, and we called it out. We're like, this is weird because it's this one news outlet we've never heard of that's reporting that thieves are using Flipper Zeros, that they're getting this firmware from the so-called underground market, I'll call it, right?
The dark web,
or whatever you want to call it, that allows you to do the interception of vehicle key fobs.
Yes.
But now
interception and replay, so you could unlock cars.
But I think the red flag for us was, in order to do that attack, you need two minimum two radios, right? One to intercept and one to transmit at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and arguably 3, one to receive, one to denial service.
Yes.
The third to replay.
Right. And so we're like, how does a Flipper Zero do this with firmware? Well, Brian Krebs, being the amazing investigative journalist that he is, spent, his words are like, a ridiculous amount of time or something like that, which, Brian, I'm glad you did. Thank you for doing that, because we were all skeptical, but you actually rolled your sleeves up and did some investigative work, actually found the person who was selling this firmware, also doxed him a little bit in the process, which I thought was
hilarious.
But okay. It got the person, I believe the crux of the issue was, got the Russian person who was selling the firmware to admit that you have to add different radio, like at least 3 radios, 2 or 3 radios to,
if not more,
to the Flipper Zero.
How?
Which makes it not really a Flipper Zero thing. The Flipper Zero is just like a
using GPIO to control
board.
radios.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, not unlike a whole bunch of the other control boards that we and add-on radios that we've seen for stuff, but it was the videos were very misleading, saying you could just do this with a Flipper Zero, blink, 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 and no, he admitted no, it requires a whole bunch of other radios that aren't seen in the video.
Right.
So what was the whole setup? I mean, it was a Flipper Zero as one of the radios in the control center, and then it had GPIO pins to do other radios as well.
Well,
like 2 or 3 others.
Well, the Flipper Zero has GPIO pins that you can connect the daughter board to, that then you can solder on various other chips, such as
radios.
Can you do CC1101s?
I'm sure.
Steel cars. Does that give you enough frequency range? Depends, right?
Maybe. Yeah. Probably.
So you need other radios.
There's other radios. There's a whole bunch of other hardware that is required to go along with this firmware to make these attacks.
Got it.
And but the Flipper Zero made that post about and showed a video of people doing it, and they had like long antenna pieces of wire that were used as antenna to start receiving the signal through like a glass window. Yep. Like if your key fob is sitting in a table on a next to the window.
Yep.
Right. You could do that.
That's what they say. Don't leave your keys by your front door.
Right.
Correct.
You know, the place that everybody leaves their damn keys.
Right in the bowl by the front door, hanging on the key, hanging on the hook.
Like not even a fully determined attacker, but is someone with some skills and some determination. There's a million different ways, different hardware that you could use to do this.
Yep. That has been an attack that's been happening for a while. Right before I left in Guardians, one of the guys we worked with, his daughter's car got stolen out of the driveway. And the only way they can think of that it happened was that the keys were left in the bowl by the front door, and they basically had a repeater to do the proximity. Right. So they could walk up to the front door, they receive the signal, and then just rebroadcast it stronger so that it thought that the key fob was next to the car, could open it and then start it.
Right. But starting it, can you start the car?
Yes.
Without the key fob?
Yes. If the key fob signal is being sent to the car. Yep. You know, if it thinks it's within a few feet,
and if it's within range, you can you can start like because my wife's car. If the key, I keep the key in my pocket, and I just start the car.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, arguably, the newer cars will use a whole bunch of different frequency stuff, and UWB and potentially some other stuff for angle of attack. I can't remember what it's called. The angle
proximity.
At which the RF signal is coming in to
triangulation.
Be able to determine.
It's not triangulation. You said this last one. Where are you? Are you standing by the trunk, or are you in the driver's seat?
Angle of attack and
triangle, almost like triangulation.
It's not triangulation. It's about determining the direction that the signal is coming.
It's
from.
not a full triangle. It's just some measuring of the signal to determine proximity and
then the technology is on the tip of my tongue. But it can tell where the key fob is. So
gotcha.
If you're shooting it through the windshield, it tells that key fob is on the hood. That shouldn't be there. So But I think one of the reasons why I think it's cool that Krebs was able to dig into this as well. He taught himself Russian years ago so we could go infiltrate those Russian crime forums.
Yeah.
And here he is dealing with one of the Russians.
Yeah. So thank you, Brian Krebs, for helping clarify that. I think that was important.
Turns out one of these Russians is also allegedly the same person that does a bunch of the other Flipper firmware stuff.
And I'm not sure if it's the same person, but based on the information that Brian Krebs posted, and in the data that he had, he said this person was involved with the Unleashed firmware. I forget what data point that was, but it was a data point.
Dark Flippers.
Dark Flippers.
Not necessarily the Unleashed firmware, but Dark Flippers, which is a collection of...
Yeah, but Dark Flippers is where the repo lives for Unleashed firmware. If you look at the contributors to Unleashed firmware, it looks like this Russian person could be also one of the contributors to the Unleashed firmware. I'm just
so
speculating.
they're Russian
direct
backdoors in
evidence.
your Flipper firmware.
Well, that's when we could make that speculation. That's what we get to do on the show. We get to speculate. It's fun.
But when we had that conversation via Signal, like, it's time
Yeah.
for me to readjust my tinfoil hat.
Yes.
well,
100%.
I just that it's a lot easier rather than using a Flipper Zero. I just stuck a link. You know the Free Willy one, right? With the dual CC C1101s.
I have all the parts to build. I think that's the one I can build. I have all the parts to build it, and I haven't built it yet. But you have to buy his firmware.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
It's like $10 or something.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's kind of like a light gate. Like he's just trying to weed out like who's willing to pay $10, who isn't.
Yeah, that's not horrible.
No, and he's got full build instructions. I just haven't soldered it all together. I have all the parts. I bought them before I was afraid that tariffs were going into place. Right, I bought all the parts. So I think I have enough parts to build 2 of them.
Nice.
So once summer camp is over, if we want to roll up our sleeves and build some stuff, we should, because I think it'd be fun.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, is that project still going? So I did want to talk about a lot more news, and we were just talking about this at the top of the show. And this one's called Revault, and I love this for so many reasons. Cisco Talos did a great job writing this up, and basically the quote that I'll summarize here is inside of Dell laptops, there is I'll call it a daughter board is my best description of it. But it's this little what do they call it? Integrated circuit IC or EC, embedded controller. I think it's more of like an EC, embedded controller, right? It's a computer inside your computer. And the job of this computer, it's called Control View is the language that they used inside of it. They said a couple of things in here, the terminology. Okay, Dell's Control Vault is a hardware-based security solution that provides a secure bank that stores your passwords, biometric templates, and security codes within the firmware. It's kind of like a TPM. And it refers to this daughter board as the Unified Security Hub, or USH. It's used the hub to run Control Vault, connecting various security peripherals, such as a fingerprint reader, smart card reader, and NFC reader. They found 4 vulnerabilities in the firmware. One vulnerability allows from on the Windows side, a non-administrator interacts with the CV or Control View firmware using APIs in the Windows operating system. They're able to leverage a vulnerability that they say it's possible using that first vulnerability to leak key material essentially to the security of the device, the security of the daughter board device, thus gaining the ability to permanently modify its firmware. I see where they're going. My reading between the lines is that this security device has some type of secure boot or firmware encryption or both. And due to a vulnerability, you're able to leak some of that key material that allows you to recover the key, which means what they state in the article, and I'll summarize, is that an attacker can put their own custom firmware on this daughter board, which is amazing, because now you could potentially bypass any of the security mechanisms that this daughter board provides, but also it gives attackers a place to hide. I'm not sure. They did not say that this device runs Linux or not, or what the firmware is on it, but an attacker with the ability to control firmware on a device that is attached to the computer is an amazing place to hide. It is amazing the possibilities that are here, right? We're going to talk about all kinds of ways to evade detection in Windows and malware. I've got a couple stories about that. But this, to me, is amazing because we like computers so much, we put a lot of computers inside your computer, and attackers that gain control of the subcomputers have an amazing amount of flexibility, control, persistence. Persistence is the interesting one because you can rebuild your operating system from the ground up as many times as you want. But if the malicious code is living inside of a component, it can just happily reinfect whatever new operating system you put on there. Like, oh, hey, great, I got a new operating system. Let me infect that in the same way. So I thought that was really cool. Great job. I feel like they should have been presenting this research at Black Hat or DEF CON.
Yeah.
but they didn't, sadly.
Yeah, I mean that's also one of those fine line types of things to do. Like you've got to submit well in advance of Black Hat DEF CON to get accepted to do that type of stuff. And maybe it
Which means you
wasn't.
have to find the vulnerability and disclose it
Yep.
in our policy at Eclipsium at least 90 days
Yep.
in advance. Then you also have to coordinate with the vendor during that process, disclose to them that, hey, we got accepted to talk about this at DEF CON, and like, are you cool with that? And typically they ask like, hey, can we read the blog post or presentation before you present it?
Mhm.
And we're always like, absolutely. Like, we're working with you here. We're not working against you. We're working with you. We want you to develop a fix. We want to talk about this publicly, but we want to talk about it publicly in a safe manner so people have some type of remediation. And that's a lot of coordination. Ask me how I know.
Yeah. Ask, how do you know?
You should check out Mickey and Jesse's talk at DEF CON.
Nice.
Help, there's Linux in my webcam. Which we'll talk about more after Saturday at 12 o'clock after Mickey and Jesse have given that talk. But if you're going to DEF CON, make sure you check out Mickey and Jesse's talk. Help, there's Linux in my webcam. It is absolutely amazing research that I have been working with them, helping them test stuff. They did all of the research. I just maintained a supporting role. I actually helped coordinate the disclosure as well, which I don't know if they even talk about it. There will be a disclosure. They don't even say that in the thing, but there will be a disclosure. I can't say which, obviously which vendor or which products or what, but you definitely want to check out their talk because it's amazing. I'm super excited about it. So let's see. Where do we want to go next? We want to talk about AI or something different?
Let's talk about AI. Why we hate AI.
So I don't know if anyone read Malware Tech's article that was titled "Every Reason Why I Hate AI and You Should Too." Ironically, and just to be a punk and a little bit of a troll, I used AI to summarize Malware Tech's article. And it probably did a really crappy job because when I read the description, it is not as good as reading the actual article. So I do encourage, it's my story number 9. I do encourage everyone to read it. Basically, Malware Tech starts out as basically stating, well, if AI is not the answer and it's just a bubble and it's going to burst, does that mean every CEO is wrong? And he's like, yeah, every CEO is wrong right now. I was like, well, that's pretty bold. I can't say I disagree. There's lots of points here that on all the things about AI that we talk about, and I'll maintain, this ties into another story, but I'll maintain that I think AI is going to end up like every other bubble that's burst. It's going to be a tool that helps us, not the end all be all solution. We thought big data, we thought cloud, we thought blockchain, all were the end all be all solution for a lot of things. And what those technologies ended up doing is greatly enhancing our technology posture, helping us in cybersecurity. But there's, as we've said a million times, there's no silver bullet here.
Nope.
But the difference with AI is that the bubble is the biggest one ever. Something like $3 trillion being invested.
Yeah.
And within a couple of years, they're all going to realize they aren't really going to make a return on that investment.
Right.
They will.
Agreed.
That's the problem. They're going to make a return on that investment, but the return, it may not be what they expect. The expectation is that the return on the investment will come in increasing profit, increasing revenue, and that kind of thing, right? Increasing efficiency, increasing productivity, thereby improving margins, blah, 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 blah. However, and here's the thing, that may happen. That actually may happen. They may increase margins. They may increase efficiency. But if people don't have money to buy stuff, it's not going to frickin' matter because they will not make the sales. Look. Let me ask you a question. I know we all like, cooking and smoking meats and things like that. We love it. It's a wonderful thing. But still, we used to go out to dinner a lot more than we probably all do right now. I know I don't go out to dinner nearly as much as we used to. Okay. It's simply gotten vaguely ridiculously expensive. And maybe it's just because I'm old and gas was $1 when I was young, whatever. But still, it's insane. And frankly, also, we cook a lot better than most restaurants, but that's a whole different story. But it is at the point where people are not able to spend money on some of the things that these companies offer. And so it's a societal problem, number one. Number two is that what they don't take into account is that when you increase efficiency, you lose institutional memory. Because when you let go of these people or don't hire on these people to take on that institutional memory, you lose it. And so you're increasing efficiency of some of your processes and losing the understanding of why the processes are why the way they are. And there's so many different examples I could give, but I'll shut up for a minute because I'm ranting.
Well, he calls out job displacement, lack of accountability, bias and inequality, loss of human connection, all the things that we say about AI. And just it makes a pretty compelling argument, I think, for why it's not the end-all be-all solution.
But wait,
erosion of skills and critical thinking. The summary was reliance on AI tools can cause individuals to lose important skills or the motivation to think critically.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. But Paul, I'm going to stop you for a second. The loss of human connection. I want to go back to that. That's really important. Prior to the big launch of ChatGPT, 3 years ago, is it? Something like that? Am I vaguely correct? Okay. Prior to 3 years ago, let's call it 4 years ago, whatever. Weren't we talking about hyperlocal echo chambers? Weren't we talking about social media disintegrating human connection? And we were talking about the exact same thing before AI ever came on the freaking horizon, right? Maybe so. And here's the thing.
They brought it up for television and the telephone and everything in the past.
Sure.
Same idea. Yeah. But here's the thing. With AI, I can go to sesame.com. Not joking. Sesame.com. I think I showed you all this to all of you. I show it to damn near everybody. It blows my mind. Their technology demo at sesame.com is people are already using it for therapy. Do you know the overwhelming use of AI is actually for therapy and loneliness?
Right. This is crazy.
But bring that back to technology, though. Social media, I think, helped form some connections.
Agreed.
And maintain social connections. If you mix that with in-person meeting. Oh, yes. I've been keeping up with what you've been doing, what you've been interesting to you because you posted on social media. I feel like I've still maintained that connection with you. So when you meet, you're more of a social person. I don't know. I may be speaking out of turn, but that's kind of what I feel like is I want to go tell people about the latest thing I did. They're like, oh yeah, like I saw your post. It helps maintain connections. But
if you mix in the actual
human connection, right?
Exactly. If you don't,
I find myself, I don't know about other people, asking AI for answers to questions rather than asking my peers.
Yeah, because it's fast.
Maybe it's not all that dissimilar to going on the internet trying to find a solution and I can't, so therefore I got to ask a peer, right? I try and do my homework first before I go ask a question because that was ingrained in my brain early in my career. Now I can get the answers from LLM. I guess I still go back to my coworkers as an example to validate the answers, to ask the actual experts, right, and validate the answer. So, but in some ways, you may not have as many interactions in your day because LLM provided you the answer. Now,
and provided the interaction.
Yes,
potentially superficial as it may have been.
Now, the increasingly frustrating and ridiculous thing is it won't give me answers about anything that is malicious with intent. Remotely malicious. But like I can go to Google and I can find an article. And I'll give you an example. I was like, hey, how do I create a DocuScript, right? A bad USB attack and deploy a Meterpreter session from it? Like, what are my options? Like, am I just deploying the binary? Am I there's got to be so many people that have done this, which puts LLMs in a great position to give me a rundown and explain the techniques to me so I can pick one and I can go do some more research. All the LLMs are like, no, I can't, Dave. I can't do that. I can't. Oh,
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
I can't tell you about DocuScripts, but I can go to the internet and Google search. And it's funny. Gemini goes, oh, no, you're asking a bad question. I can't answer that. But here's the rest of the Google results. They have articles that tell me exactly how to do it. Yeah. I'm like, so what do you...
But I'm a red teamer and I have a contract and it's legal and ethical.
I tried that, man. It didn't work.
I'm sorry, Dave.
I'm sorry,
afraid
Dave.
I can't do that.
Like, but if you get evil GPT, if you get a local LLM and code it and set it so that it'll do those, then you can do it. It's really not that hard.
Right. I hope that bar continues to get lower so that we can train our own models because ethics is up to the person, not the technology.
Ding, ding,
Right?
ding.
People are the ones putting up the guardrails regarding ethics.
Mhm.
Technology doesn't understand ethics. People do.
Ju-
So it's really people's stupidity that's putting these guardrails in here.
Mhm.
That now, I mean, really, it just puts it at a disadvantage.
So here's a great segue to another story that you
Yeah.
have on AI, Paul, that the AI doesn't have any ethics. People have ethics, and they're pushing their ethics onto AI,
Right.
which means their ethics are being pushed upon us through AI.
Mm-hmm.
So humans push AI, humans push ethics, but AI never pushes code.
Right. Which is to
The
your
segue
story.
to your
to drawfish.com, right?
Yep, exactly.
And my story number 10, not forget that one too, is talks about AI as well.
Oh, well, we can
10? I didn't see that
certainly
one.
get there. But yeah, mine was
The drawfish one is interesting.
It was actually kind of hilarious, and it was very
a great
upfront.
post-mortem though. I mean, the gist of the story, right? Someone AI generated a website and people hacked it.
Yep, somebody AI generated, vibe coded a website that allowed you to draw fish on it, and it would make the fish swim in a fish tank. And sure enough, someone found some vulnerabilities in it, including let's see, a legacy 6-digit admin password exposed in a past data breach. The username update API to update your username for your fish creation didn't require any authentication, so you could update anybody's name. And the JWT wasn't tied to a specific user, so if I grabbed your JWT or if I grabbed my JWT, I could change the username, and now my session would be valid for that new username.
Right.
So all I needed was a valid JWT for my user, and then I just plugged the username of admin, and I became admin. Because the whole app had been vibe coded, and quite honestly, it seems kind of interesting that that Drawfish was on Hacker News in the number one position, and all of a sudden he's like, I noted this. Like, what the hell's going? The author noted it. It seems kind of interesting because he's like, yeah, one of the failures was totally on me. I put a 6-digit admin password on it when I was doing the development for one of the servers, and it was a password that I used in elementary school.
Oops.
Sorry, my childhood username and my childhood 6-digit password for testing. I think the first time it was leaked was on neopets.com. Then I set up Google Auth, only logged in via Google Auth, but the password remained. I simply forgot.
Oh my God.
And allowed some of the most intelligent and brilliant minds on the internet to find my password on the Neopets data leak paste, log in as an admin, and approve or disapprove some really disgusting and horrible fish. So apparently,
they changed all the usernames, right?
Yeah, well, they figured out how to change all the usernames to be lots of racial slurs and all that type of stuff. They also allowed really obscene fish to be drawn that required approval, and they just approved them all, and they made themselves admin.
Yeah.
So they could do all the things. The irony is that he was asleep while all this thing was happening. He woke up the next morning, started figuring stuff out. And someone else on the other side of the planet, I think he said was from Australia, used the JWT issue to capture his JWT and promote himself to admin to start removing all the things that people were doing bad.
I love it. We have the discussions at work a lot. I'm like, can't we exploit this vulnerability to like do this good thing? But like, we just need to exploit this vulnerability, and we can do so much good with it.
Yep.
And it's still not cool.
So while this was a mistake, it ended up saving me. Fortunately, Hacker News user IceWeaselFan44 uses vulnerability to authorize as an admin and delete the really bad fish. He was awake and on the other side of the world, removing fish and helping out.
That's awesome. There is still some good on the internet, I guess.
Fortunately, I had set up Firebase backups. Unfortunately, I had set them up wrong. Oops.
Don't feel bad, man. We've all made those mistakes. Okay.
Yeah. So it was... at this point, you're probably thinking, geez, man, wow, you got to be stupid. Yep. Nope. Like, this is... Yeah.
Accidents happen.
Yeah. It'd be very nice. Yeah, it would be very nice for my ego to blame the LLM here, but LLMs are a tool. They let you generate a lot of code really fast, and sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not, and it's up to you to review it, decide what code gets committed, and then the picture he's got is LLMs commit code. People don't.
Right.
LLMs don't commit code. People commit code.
Mhm.
Kind of a play on guns don't kill people. People kill people.
Right.
Yeah. So
my story number 10, continuing on the AI theme, the title of this, Why the Old Ways Are Still the Best for Most Cyber Criminals. In the title, in much of the article, I agree with. If we observe different attack techniques every single week and talk about them here on the show. However, I don't believe the answer, according to the author, is AI. Maybe it is in certain circumstances, and I don't want to say make it sound like AI is completely useless and it'll never help us with these problems, because that's not true. But the author says AI can help by continuously monitoring, flagging vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, and other security gaps, delivering risk scores, playbooks, and orchestrated remediation. That's a big leap. That's a big leap for me. Not sure I'm quite on board with all that. The author goes on to say it helps SecOps teams to react fast to new threats using automated workflows, content-rich detection, and AI-driven threat hunting to contain breaches before they spread. I'd argue we can do that today. Will AI help? Remains to be seen. And kind of goes on to more promoting AI. Now, AI is not the answer. AI can help as a tool, but it's not the solution. I think the real answers are combining proactive defenses, anomaly detection, and effective teamwork and response is what's going to yield success. I've had many conversations with very smart people about really what works in defenses. If I had to summarize it in one sentence, I think it would be that. Will AI help us with that? Sure. I think it takes a lot of different technologies coupled with good processes and teamwork to deal with these attacks effectively, and contain the breach and limit the damage. Because you're not going to stop everything, as we always say. You got to contain the damage. And will AI help with this? Yeah, probably. But it's not a silver bullet. Again, there's no silver bullets in this industry. That was my take on that story. It's a good article, by the way. I thought the author did a great job. They're just a little too heavy on the AI as a solution. Unless someone wants to correct me if I'm wrong. And be like, AI technology and solutions are going to totally help us with this, Paul, and you're way off base.
Okay, look, AI is a tool. Yes, absolutely agreed. AI is not a silver bullet. Absolutely agreed. AI is a bigger, more flexible answer to more problems than any of the other technologies you named, except perhaps cloud.
Sure.
And even there, it's probably more flexible. And cloud revolutionized the way we do things. Okay?
Yes,
it was a massive change in how we do things, but it didn't change the people. I still had servers. I still had containers. I still had things to watch and manage and admin. What happens when I automate a lot of those jobs and the only thing that touches a human is the anomalies? That's why AI is that different.
That, yeah. However,
and I don't want to turn this whole show into this. I'm sorry.
No, but we've always had tools and software, things people called solutions, that could help correlate things at scale that is otherwise difficult for humans. And I believe the new AI technologies are really great at aggregating data and looking for patterns.
Yes.
Now, does that mean we'd completely have to lose that skill set? No. But can it help with a mountain of data and go, this is what I think you should focus on? Yeah, absolutely.
And here's the difference. Previous to AI, the age of AI, there was always a place you could go and get a job doing this manually. Whether it was a small company, right, whether it was a big company, some SOC that still looked at the logs by hand, whatever. There was still a career path to, I know how to do it. I know how to do it manually. Now I can do it automatedly. And now I can be...
But I'm a huge fan of that in so many different things as human beings that we do, right? I'm a huge fan of use cooking as an example.
Yeah.
If you want to smoke meat, you should absolutely learn how to build fire, do that, sit by the smoker for 12 to 18 hours, and drink beer the whole time and maintain fire. Then once you've done the most manual process, because I think that's an invaluable learning experience.
Huge. The
Then you can
smells.
go get a pellet smoker, right? Now you truly appreciate the technology. You understand how it works. Now you're just automating, but with that knowledge of how things work. And I've been the same way in IT and cybersecurity. I'm like, look, can you do things in an automated manner? Can you automate the crap out of things? Yes, but you should start from scratch. I'm not saying everyone has to build their own operating system and compiler, but there's a lot of equivalent things that you can do by hand to gain an appreciation and understanding of how things work, that then when you start augmenting that with automation and AI and other kinds of tools, you understand what's happening under the covers. I think that's an important thing for us in so many facets of life.
And you can't do it anymore.
Well, it's getting harder and harder to.
There are less and less
to motivate people to do that, right?
No. There are less and less places to do that. Where can you go and get paid to manually analyze logs? Splunk used to be so expensive. It still is. Right. But now I can spin up an LLM for $5 or free on some spare laptop to have it analyze logs for me. And so the point is,
you have to tell, a human has to tell it what to look for.
Yes and no. They're building automated log rules so that you just feed the rules in.
It's based on human knowledge.
My point, my friend, is that we're destroying the logs. Yeah, but we're destroying the career paths. That's the problem. We're destroying the career paths to bring our colleagues and peers and successors up.
I think we should be teaching students the fundamentals and doing things manually, then introducing automation and AI. I think that, to me, is the right way to teach people.
When are you teaching your class?
Oh, I'm not teaching anything coming up.
That's his point.
You're not doing it. Sam, are you doing it?
Sam is.
Yeah, but Sam is one person out of the four of us. I teach occasionally. Larry, how often do you teach?
8 to 10 times a year.
Yeah, Larry teaches frequently.
Yeah, you teach the SANS courses.
Yep.
When do you teach the beginners?
Some of those people in the SANS courses are beginners.
Solid.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will also argue that we all are teaching right now.
I agree with you.
A good number of our listeners may be beginners.
Yeah, but my point is that
do things the hard way, because that's how you learn.
I'm teaching a beginners class at DEF CON starting on Saturday. So, it's the classes are out there. But I think it's absolutely true, though, that my graduates are not being able to find jobs in cybersecurity anymore the way they did even 2 years ago. But that I don't think is because of AI. That's because of Doge. There are hundreds of thousands of experienced people flooding the market.
Yeah.
Because they've gotten laid off from government jobs.
Yeah.
Yep.
The market is massively
before that, Elon laid everybody off Twitter
are.
and such. So there's a bunch of real experienced people out there flooding all the jobs.
Well, to Josh's point of the economy, right? There has been a lot of layoffs in general, not just Twitter and Doge, but across the board.
Yeah. And because some of those were an expectation of using AI to replace them, and you do it now before you build the AI to replace them, therefore you don't have to use the WARN Act. You don't have to pay severance. It's just a riff, man. We'll give you a couple of weeks of severance and you're done. Go find another job. It's not a big deal. Yes, it bloody well is.
Yep.
So
and arguably some of those people in jobs were, quote, very highly specialized, very highly specialized, or have some very unique experience that there just aren't many jobs available.
And so now that specialization is gone.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if it's gone, but like Josh, we have a friend in common that fairly recently got laid off from a Fortune 1 company and had worked for government and a bunch of other Fortune companies, and is now out of a job, has a very specialized skill set, arguably, or a more generic skill set. But where do you go when you get fired from Fortune 1? Or when you get laid off from Fortune 1? Exactly. Like,
it is tough, and she's awesome, and
she is.
It absolutely, like the fact that she's not working immediately is like I'm ashamed of my industry. Okay, because she does so much to increase knowledge. Like I write blog articles and I need to write a lot more, but I write blog articles and then she writes one and I'm like, I feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Some of these people that are out there, but we've had some of the people on Security Weekly have been out of work. We had a global CISO for a major security vendor out of work for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
I still think we're hiring in too much of a siloed manner too.
Explain that. I'm sorry.
We're hiring for a highly specific skill set when we should be hiring for attitude, aptitude. Yeah.
I agree entirely. That's a very good point.
People can learn skill sets, right?
Yeah.
It's the mindset that's the tough thing to find the right one. The skill is technical skills. Like, what do you want me to do? Just tell me. I'll learn it tonight. It's not a big friggin' deal.
Well, in some cases, yes. In some cases, that's a steep learning curve. That's hard.
Name something that's a learning curve that you couldn't pick up in a few days.
UEFI security.
The generics of it, the basics of it, you could pick up in a few days.
Different level. I agree, Josh. Yeah. Different levels, right? Mm-hmm. To understand something enough to be manager, contributor, helping.
Deep level contributor,
my role
absolutely.
at Eclipsium
Takes forever.
I wasn't doing UEFI for 15 years like my coworkers, but I picked it up well enough to be a contributor, right?
Do you remember a show called The Pretender?
No.
This was a TV show, and it was probably in the 90s, maybe the 80s. Jesus, I'm old. But the guy literally would have a different career every show. He would pretend to be the career and pass it off. Like he pulled it off every time.
Hard to do in tech, though.
He in the 90s and 80s tech stuff. It wasn't that special.
Tech was different. Yeah.
But and I literally, one day I went, what's so special about that? Because in tech, especially, in the areas that we've all done, you kind of have to do that all the time. Today I'm doing firewalls.
But
tomorrow I'm doing
aptitude. If you've got experience reverse engineering something and writing code, you want to come to Eclipsium, right?
Right.
I'd be like, this person's awesome. We should hire. Yeah, they haven't done any UEFI stuff or maybe even firmware stuff, but I'm like, they got right skill. But more importantly, they got the right attitude, the right aptitude, which means they can draw on their experiences. And when you give them something new, they go learn it. Now, there's a base level of knowledge they have. I don't think you can be completely green to technology and hold a deeply technical role. I mean, you'll get there eventually, but you've got to have some technical acumen for certain positions.
That's how you test for the attitude and aptitude and stuff. To have that base level of knowledge, they can take the test. But once they've taken the test and you're like, oh, this is a smart person who has the right mindset and the right abilities and attitude to do this work, we'll spend the month training them, to do the work right. And there's so many companies. I'm not going to rant anymore. I think that AI is a career, not so much a job destroyer, but a career path destroyer. That's my premise.
I want to talk about briefly, because I loved how I titled this, and so begins the crawler wars. I don't necessarily know what the right answer here is. I kind of lean towards you have to support the traffic that's being thrown at your site.
Is this your story number 11?
Yeah.
And Sam's number
Sam 8. Had the story too, right?
Yep.
So, but there's this war going on where if you're using or AIs and LLMs first, just in the nature of them, they're going to websites, consuming information, and then processing that and giving you results. Well, part of that process, they have to actually go to a website and scrape and crawl, essentially. But it's not all that dissimilar from a web browser, except now they're doing that at scale with LLMs. There's also technologies that exist to use LLMs to do crawling and scraping to build databases, even JSON formatted data of what's on that website. To me, this is a huge advancement for us in technology, the ability to consume information that is on websites, take that and put it inside of an AI model and allow us to query it, allow us to format it, allow us to work with that data is huge benefits to that. Huge benefits. However, the website owners are like, well, you're crawling our websites and we had a robots.txt that said you can't crawl our website. It's like, well, yeah, anyone could put a sign on the door that says do not enter. Like, does that stop people from going? I've given this analogy a ton of times, right? You've got a door with not even a doorknob. It's like those swinging doors at the restaurant. and it just says do not enter. But all you have to do is push on it and you can walk in. Like, does that really keep people out? That's all the robots.txt is saying is like, oh, hey, don't crawl us. Like, wow.
However,
there's more than that, and the lawsuits are coming.
Robots.txt is a CFAA boundary, a barrier.
Right. That's it.
Which the CFAA, with the recent, a year ago, said there has to be a barrier. Even if it's pushed through a door, you have a door there. And as long as there is a barrier, CFAA is valid. USC 1029 and 1030. God, I can't believe I've memorized that.
And for the record, CFAA is the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act.
It's like a no trespassing sign.
But that's like old and antiquated philosophy. That stems from the days where all the systems were connected even before the internet, connected to something. And if you were to, like, on your modem, dial a number and you got a prompt and maybe it didn't even ask you for a password or whatever, and you just pushed enter and you're at the prompt and you're interacting with the system, and there was no warning to say, like, hey, you shouldn't be here.
Yep.
That's why the CFAA adopted that. Technology-wise, we are so far beyond that. I think it's ridiculous that that's still part of the law.
Well, but I mean, technology-wise, we're beyond that. But I think the analogy, and I think still some of these rules definitely apply. Like, if you have a website and you put a password on it, and sure, the password is crap, it's still a barrier. And if you use someone else's password, you've violated that barrier.
I agree, which is why I don't agree with the warning thing. Like, if it has a login prompt and you log in via the login prompt, whatever that login is doesn't matter.
Yep, that's a barrier.
That's a barrier.
But if
you're not authorized,
right? And if you use someone else's password that's not yours, that's also not authorized.
Correct.
So with like robots.txt, that is the barrier that your computer programs are intended to respect.
Right. But robots.txt is on a website, not a login prompt. Your website is already publicly accessible, and someone with a web browser can go to the website and consume the information. Well, what robots.txt is saying is, well, you're not allowed to crawl it in an automated fashion. That's really like just the equivalent of, rather than letting one person through the door, you shouldn't let 100 people through the door. What's the difference? Letting one person or 100 people through the door. Right. From an access perspective, I'm not saying like bandwidth and site reliability. I think that's where this argument is stemming from, is the investment companies have to make to withstand the traffic. Is that? No.
The problem is you don't make any money because they never see your ads and they never see your buy button. And it's a huge problem. I mean, back in the days of Google, they would crawl your site about 8 times for every legitimate customer that come through the door. But now with LLMs, they crawl your site thousands of times before even one customer goes there. So the only thing that ever actually sees your site is the web crawler that is not a real customer, and there are no real customers to sell things to. So this is choking off the monetary support for people that publish anything on the web. And therefore, Cloudflare added this feature.
Google.
Cloudflare added this feature to block it, so you can charge money to let the crawlers through. And the crawlers that go through without getting permission are probably violating copyright.
But because I don't go to Google and I don't see all the ads on Google because I'm going to Perplexity. Perplexity is going to the site on my behalf.
That's right.
Then I'm getting the information, but I'm not ever seeing all those ads on Google, which, by the way, I love. I love that.
It's good for the end user in the short run, but in the long run, it means nobody will put anything up on the website for those guys to crawl. You have to let them make some money putting things on the web, or very few people will be doing it.
You know, there's the opposite problem as well, right? So did you hear about the problem with Congress.gov and the Constitution?
Oh, yeah, where they just erased part of the Constitution.
They erased part of the Constitution from Congress.gov, including the writ of habeas corpus. People are going, what the hell? Why did this happen? And one of the best answers I've seen is because that way, all of the AI crawlers that go through, when you ask about it, it'll go, no, it's not part of the Constitution. Because it's not according to a publicly accessible place.
Well, you know, last week the Smithsonian removed Trump from their display of people who have been impeached. So this is very common in totalitarian states. They start rewriting history to remove the parts that embarrass them.
But Sam, we've always been at war with East Asia.
Well, I don't know that refers to. But.
Well, wait, you have never read George Orwell's 1984?
Nope, I don't think I have.
Well, it's been a long time.
Oh my God, you serious?
I
Sam,
did read it. It was a long time ago.
Sam, send me your. Okay, I'm emailing you a Kindle link. I'll buy you the book.
Is it in public domain now, though?
It is not.
No?
It is not. So I've actually read it.
When was it? When was it? Was it? It wasn't published in 1984. Was it before that? It was way before that, right?
Yep. Well,
60s,
before that.
the 50s, the 40s. I don't even remember anymore.
We have this rectangle of knowledge that can tell us that. But in any case, I actually listened to. I've been gone back.
There was a movie too, right? They made a movie out of the book.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, there is at least one copy of the movie that I watched in high school, and it was very controversial because there's a sex scene in it.
Okay.
We have listened to the book. I have listened to the book recently within the last 4 or 5 years. I went back and listened audiobook all of the classics that I was supposed to read in high school that I did all the crib notes for instead.
Yeah. What was it? What was the yellow book? Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes. Yep. So Pride and Prejudice,
which is kind of funny because an LLM can now just generate you Cliff Notes for pretty much anything.
Yep, exactly.
It's kind of funny.
So 1984 was the one that I went back and listened to. Animal Farm and a couple of other ones. Fahrenheit 451. But I did do 1984 fairly recently, and maybe last summer we were actually listening to a radio drama adaptation of 1984 with the family in the car. So, Sam, you should give it a read, listen, however you consume that type of media. I think you would very much appreciate it.
Well, we're living through the part where they rewrite history, which has happened over and over.
Like I said, I think you would appreciate it.
Yeah.
You can't protect what you can't see. Everyone knows that, right? That's why Run Zero gives you total visibility across your internal and external attack surfaces. Worried about unknown and unmanageable devices? They got those covered too. Run Zero also helps you illuminate all types of exposures, even the elusive ones. They go beyond CVEs to tackle the hard stuff, even 0 days. No agents, no authentication, just crazy deep data about your assets and exposures that focus on the risks that actually matter. Not an endless sea of CVEs. Try it free. Visit securityweekly.com/run0 to get started. Ransomware, supply chain attacks, 0 days. Cyber threats don't wait, and neither should your defenses. With ThreatLocker, you're not just reacting to threats, you're stopping them before they start. ThreatLocker's zero trust endpoint protection locks down your environment with pinpoint control over what's allowed to run and what's not. No guesswork, no blind spots, just proactive, built-for-now security that keeps your business moving. Want to see how a true default deny strategy works? Head over to securityweekly.com/ThreatLocker and take the first step towards shutting the door on threats before they even knock. I want to get your guys' take on this one. My story number 8 is titled Rapid Breach, Social Engineering to Remote Access in 300 Seconds. Comes from NCC Group experience, I believe, doing an incident response gig, and outlined this scenario where an attacker gained access very, very quickly. So they say the threat actor targeted around 20 users, impersonating IT support personnel, and successfully convinced 2 users to grant remote access to their system using the Windows native Quick Assist remote support tool. In less than 5 minutes, the threat actors executed PowerShell commands that led to the download of offensive tooling, malware execution, and creation of persistence mechanisms. The article then goes on to state, I was like, whoa, like that's pretty amazing. I'm like, well, how does the story end? So they say the actions described above were completed by the threat actor in a session that lasted 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Fortunately, this was caught by the internal security team, which isolated the hosts, preventing a larger infection. So what went wrong here? What went right? It's kind of obvious what went right. This was kind of the inspiration that jogged my memory of what makes a good, resilient organization to cyber attacks, and that is teams that can communicate and collaborate very well. And it sounds like this team, because they detected it early, were able to respond, contained the breach such that it limited the damage. And that's really our goal. And I think the thing they did right was having that observability. It's the NUDA loop, right? It's observe, orient. What is it? Observe, orient, detect, and act, right?
Oh, the
They
OODA
do
loop.
that really
Yeah.
well. Organizations that do that really well, they do well against real attackers and penetration testers. Doesn't matter. They do it well. And I think that's what's security is not necessarily all about technology, AI, newfangled EDR, or whatever. It's about communication, observing, and orienting and acting. And that's what they did right. Wrong is probably allowing PowerShell to run, but there's that.
Pick another one.
Josh doesn't like that one. Josh is like, nope, not waiting on that one.
Yeah,
Which is
it's
fine.
okay.
I got more.
Wait, go ahead.
Let's see. SonicWall. Let's talk about SonicWall.
You know what?
SonicWall had some.
credit.
SonicWall had a vulnerability that was exploited. They fixed it, and then like a week later, I believe it was Akira, a ransomware group, was having a field day with SonicWall devices, compromising them. And what SonicWall and Arctic Wolf was involved with this as well. Like, these devices are still being compromised, even though they're fully patched. There must be a 0-day floating around out there. SonicWall's like, we're trying to figure this out. Like, the best I can glean from all these articles is SonicWall's like, look, we're trying to figure this out. They're like, but in the meantime, if you got a SonicWall device, disable the VPN, because we don't know where this is coming from. We're trying to help, but to protect yourself, disable the VPN service. And I just want to praise SonicWall for this. I know you might expect the opposite of me talking about how vendors should practice secure code, which they should. They should all do all those things. But like, how many times have we seen a vendor go to their customers and say, please disable this feature until we figure this shit out? Disable this feature. To me, it's an indication that SonicWall is willing to act to the benefit of their customers. Whereas historically, many vendors, we have observed cases where they're trying to sweep shit under the rug, right? They're trying to pull talks from security conferences. They're trying to downplay the severity of a vulnerability. They're saying that, hey, we're not observing this being exploited in the wild, when in reality they haven't really looked. That's the pattern of behavior that I've observed in the past 20 plus years, doing the show. However, SonicWall is like, nope, I want to help protect customers. And you know what? The best thing for our customers now is to disable this feature. We understand that's going to be impactful, but to prevent a ransomware infection, which could be far more detrimental than maybe turning off your VPN and your firewall, go ahead and turn off the VPN and your firewall till we figure this out. Props to you, SonicWall. I'm going to give you praise on that one. I am not going to throw shade your way, which sometimes I do towards vendors.
But how can someone practically turn off their VPN? What are you supposed to do? You have to connect to the network.
People don't get remote access, right? If that's their method of remote access, they don't get remote access. It's impactful. It's a horrible situation to be in, but I haven't seen any other vendors going, yeah, hey, just turn the. There is, my coworker did point out that CISA did recommend that if you are in the U.S. government and you have Avanti, you should remove it. But that's not Avanti saying that. That's the U.S. government saying that.
Yeah.
It's different.
I'm just saying, telling you to disable this is like telling you to isolate your IoT devices from the internet. It kind of defeats the point.
No, I get it, right? It's not good for anyone involved. It's not good for SonicWall. It's not, necessarily good for their customers in certain aspects of this, but it does show that the vendor does care about the customers, and they don't want them to get pwned. They can't figure it out right now. Like, I give them a world of credit, man. Like, this shit's hard to figure out. Right? Like, where is the 0-day vulnerability that someone's exploiting? Oh, shit, I don't know, but I know this is happening, so let's put out some advice that we have an intermediate stopgap measure, turn it off for now, until they figure it out.
I guess. I bet people are just going to ignore this advice in order to get work done, though.
Well, and then they're going to get ransomware, and then they're going to have a much larger problem. Because I think this is a risk-based decision, right?
Yeah.
Like, what problem do you want to have? not having SSL VPN functionality or dealing with a ransomware attack, which one's going to cost your company less? Is the situation that SonicWall customers are in. SonicWall's like, look, turn the friggin' VPN off for now, because it's going to be far more costly to deal with a ransomware than it is to deal with not having remote access. And this was all over the news too. Like,
yeah. They really need to fix it pretty soon, because the obvious solution is just buy a different device. And it won't take too many days of lost work to cover up the cost of that.
Do I buy Fortinet? Do I buy Avanti? Yeah. What do I buy?
Yeah.
They've all had this problem.
Yep.
This is where attackers are gravitating towards, for all the reasons we've talked about on the show before, right? So yeah, I want to give them also, what I find interesting, let's see, we go through my stories till we get Josh's attention.
Oh, wait, maybe we need one of Sam's stories to get Josh's attention.
All right, yeah, Sam, what's
I'm
your
reading the stories. Well, they're just on the monitor over to my left.
The most important story is this really strong evidence that cell phones are bad for children. I mean, we've talked.
No, it's actually fascinating.
They actually took 100,000 people, and they showed that if they get a cell phone at age 5, they are very, very much psychologically inferior to people who don't get a smartphone until age 13. And the people that get it earlier have suicidal thoughts, aggression, detachment from reality, and hallucinations. And, instead of just the vague statement like video games are bad for you, this is real evidence from a real study of a significant number of people. So I think it's probably very important.
My kid's pediatrician actually gave us a flyer, and it said that there's this program called Wait Till 8. Your kid's supposed to wait until 8th grade before they get a smartphone. Now, not necessarily a phone. They have like the kids' phones that don't have a screen or have a tiny little, like basically an old Nokia style, where it can dial 4 or 5 or 10 numbers or whatever, but it can even take pictures, but it can't act as a smartphone. So if so your kid can have a phone at age 5 or 6 or 10 or whatever, but they shouldn't have a smartphone until age 13, 8th grade, 9th grade, whatever that is.
Now, with your first child, that's easy. When you have multiple children, that's hard, because their older siblings have a phone and they don't.
Yep. So can you get their, and this is a good point, because I've got 2, you've got 4. I mean, come on. Can you?
Well, I have 3 that I know of.
I'm sorry, I thought you had 4.
He knows of. I love that.
Maybe you know of a 4th out there that's mine. I don't know.
Well, there's this.
No, but kid looks just like you, boy.
This would be Jerry Springer. We'll bring that on you right now.
Right, yeah.
Maury Povich smokes cigars,
Josh
drinks
brings
whiskey.
Up Paul's long lost, child.
But no, in all seriousness, like it's with the younger kids. Did you find that when you gave your oldest a smartphone, that the younger ones absolutely had to have one right then, or were they okay with the feature phone?
They've never really been okay with the technology I give them, because we're so technology heavy. If they don't have the latest and greatest thing, we all have the latest and greatest things, they complain loudly. My kids have always had tons of access to technology.
Same.
Because as we know, there's tons of technology in our homes. And
just give them something. Just give them something. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Give them something that uses Arch, and then they won't be able to use it. So that's solving the problem.
I've done that. Actually, my youngest was using a Linux laptop for a while, and he was like, yeah, whatever. I'm all set with it. Going back to he has an Android phone and an iPad, right? Which the problem, I don't think, is access to the device. I think the problem is access to what crap do you let them watch on the internet.
Yep.
TikTok is the absolute worst.
I will state that the brain rot on YouTube is pretty fucking bad. Let me be honest.
Yep.
Yeah, but I also think that, I question the study. I question all studies a little bit, just so you know. Like, I don't believe any study at face value, because I think there's a lot of factors that go into studies. Like, how many of these people would have already had those mental health issues had they not had access to a device? It's hard to say, because they had access to a device, but maybe they would have had that. Like, my youngest has anxiety. But I think the anxiety in a lot of those younger kids is not because they have access to technology. But if you take a kid who's 8 or 9 years old today, think about the impressionable age they were during the pandemic. To me, I think there are studies that show the pandemic breeds anxiety, not necessarily them having access to the device. However, that being said, I think TikTok and even YouTube Shorts and all these short reels are horrible for kids' development. And I do my best to limit their time on them. And basically now I'm just physically taking it away. I'm like, if all you're going to use it for is to watch short videos, I'm like, nope, it's going away for a while. Let's go do something constructive. Let's take the dogs for a walk, go fishing.
Exactly. And that is exactly the point that we are in our household. Our youngest had some misbehavior, and some of that misbehavior was around the device. So the device went away in dramatic fashion. I might add,
violent fashion.
Yes.
We've all been there, Larry.
The iPhone is in 2 pieces because it was smashed over my knee, and there's a whole host of other issues with that as well. But she hasn't had access to like YouTube, any of that type of stuff for more than 6 months. And she could watch a little bit of YouTube on TV if she got up early on a Saturday morning before everyone else was in the house, and that was permitted because you were getting up with the dogs who were barking, letting everybody sleep in, and we had some leeway. So she hasn't had access to that stuff for like 6 months. The problem now is that she has become so frustrated, and we actually had to have this very large conversation about why she was sneaking this technology again when she was prohibited from having it, was that she felt left out in her friend circle.
Right.
Because when the friend circle got together, she didn't understand the context of some of the conversation that they were having.
Like an internet meme or something.
Exactly. Because she didn't have the brain rot that all her friends had.
Right.
So we've now had to loosen up a little bit on that because of social norms and social the ADHD and some of that.
I think the younger ones suffer because of this fact. The older ones, I implemented technology that would limit what they could see and for how long they could use the device and certain apps on the device. And then as they got a little older, they found ways around that. So when it come to the third child, they didn't have that protection software because I was just frustrated because they were just getting around it. And I was like, but also like, I think it's great that you were getting around it because it's the hacker spirit. It's the hacker in me. I'm like, that's awesome. Like you're getting around it. Like that's really cool. So I mean, there's that aspect too. So, but I do fear for my younger one, because the 8 or 9 year olds today have so much more technology at their disposal than even my 12-year-old and even my 17-year-old ever did. So,
and even we did, which is terrifying.
So much more than we did.
I will say.
God.
I was like, I didn't have Google when I had to figure shit out on my own.
Library card catalog.
Yeah, seriously, dude. Encyclopedia, the World Book.
Yeah, like we had to look shit up at an encyclopedia. What's that? Like, good Lord,
The converse of this conversation is that the 12-year-old, because has not had access to the same level of technology this summer, aside from all of the other things that they've had to do because of misbehavior, has rediscovered their love of reading. And was plowing through this series of books that are several hundreds of pages thick, and just switched over to doing Percy Jackson, and a week ago got 3 Percy Jackson books and is almost through all 3 of them.
Right.
And instead of bringing a iPhone to go out to when we go out to dinner and while we're waiting for food, instead of pulling out their iPhone, they're pulling out a Percy Jackson novel and reading.
The kids aren't necessarily always savvy enough to tune the algorithm. So, I mean, I use social media. I mean, I use it as a vehicle to disseminate information, to keep in touch with the subscribers and all that stuff. But so when I'm on the social platforms, I've tried to tune my algorithm to show me the more educational content. But I work in technology. I've got a little more purview and insights into how that works. Like every time I see a video that talks about hacking a Raspberry Pi, I'm like, follow, like, subscribe. So the algorithm knows I want to see more of that content, and I don't want to see as much of the crap content. Like everyone's like, if I see a little bit of the crap content, like I don't know. I follow Puke Party on Instagram.
Oh God.
Because like people throwing up, I just think is an absolutely hilarious thing to watch every once in a while, right?
Yep.
Now my whole feed is filled with that.
Fail Army, yeah, sure.
Fail Army, right? People falling is absolutely hilarious. It's one of the
God.
reasons the internet was invented, to watch people fall.
Yep, or get kicked in the nuts.
Or get kicked in the nut. Like
go away, Baton.
Right? But educational content is great.
Ow, my balls!
I want to see videos on how to hack stuff, how to do hardware, how to soldering on. Like I'm like, cool. This is great content, man.
Dude, Facebook Marketplace knows me.
But like also getting the algorithm to show you the educational content is a constant struggle and a battle, and I think that's where the kids fall into, just looking at crap on the internet, because the internet just wants to show you crap. All these algorithms just want to show you crap.
Yep. And now, admittedly, there is some crap and there's some educational crap, and
there is
educational crap
is
to a point. Like I can remember, like when our oldest was growing up, was watching Mr. Beast and Unspeakable, which all ended up starting like video game stuff that they were really into, and they were learning things about how to play video games.
Real crap is when they find Jeffy. Don't let your kids watch Jeffy.
Oh God!
And if you don't know what that is, don't do that when there's other people in the room. Because I've been in the room, my kids are watching it, and like it's puppets, but it's very adult oriented.
Oh,
highly adult oriented, like stuff that would be in our private group texts with adult males, not meant for kids who are in elementary school or middle school. But they find this and they targeted it towards the younger audience, 100%. Because it's puppets, and the algorithm just shows it to them. And I'm like, guys, this is not appropriate at all. And I'm pretty lenient on what's appropriate and what's not. I'm like, this is not appropriate.
Yeah, I can remember when our youngest.
Dude, there's a wiki for this fucker.
Oh yeah, just reading the dude, it's bad.
I can remember when our youngest was watching a little bit on YouTube to watch some videos, and we'd get her started down the path, and the algorithm figured out that she liked like stuff about Disney and that type of stuff. And next thing you know, there were Disney spoof cartoons in Arabic that she was watching, and because she couldn't read it. And she couldn't understand it, but she was still watching it and was enthralled with it because it was generic Mickey Mouse with like, what are these, like terrorist training videos or what? I don't know. We have no idea, because
that's the problem. It's really hard to police that content on these platforms. We talked about YouTube, the whole thing. Yeah. It's a problem
that they were not terrorist training videos, but it was still I do not understand this, so it could be anything. What else we got?
I got some D-Link vulnerabilities that were added to the SysAkev list. These are end-of-life D-Link products that have a lot of vulnerabilities. In exercise I was going through, I was learning how to use the Claude command line. Mm-hmm. What is that called? Claude Code. Claude Code is the command line. But I didn't realize this. A coworker showed it to me. And you're like, dude, it's kind of scary because it gains a lot of access to your operating system and can run commands. And if you grant it the rights to, it can install new software. He's like, but you don't have to use it for just code. And so I tested it out, and I was like using Claude Code. And I have this directory called Firmware. And in it is like a whole bunch of different firmware samples, as well as like results from firmware scans from Binwalk, from Emba. It's like my generic kind of firmware research directory. And I installed Claude Code, and like you point it at a directory. You're like, hey, this is your directory. And you can just see it read. It's like, all right, I'm going to read all the files in the directory. And it starts reading through, and it's like, yeah. But it's kind of like when you show your friend like your firmware directory, it's like, oh, you've got firmware for this device, and that device is end of life. You've got some Emba results in here that enumerate vulnerabilities. You've got some firmware that has already been unpacked.
Cookies.
And it's like showing me this whole list of stuff. It's like, you got some really cool stuff in here. I'm like, I know, it's pretty cool, huh? I'm like, now tell me about vulnerabilities that you can find in that firmware. And it's like, oh, hold my beer. I will absolutely do that for you, Paul. Love Claude. And it marches through, and you guide it and direct it. And it's like, hey, one of the features I love is it's like, hey, Paul, like if I had these utilities, I could do this extra stuff for you. And I'm like, I don't want you to install them. I'll install them. And he's like, oh, yeah. Claude's like, yeah, that's cool, dude. So I install the utilities and I go back to Claude. I'm like, hey, I gave you those utilities now. Go forth and conquer firmware.
Do your thing. But you should hate AI, Paul.
Claude Code in this scenario, I really like the AI. If the AI had, like we're talking like it has a personality, and it kind of talks like it has a personality, but we know it doesn't. But anyway, and it goes through, and I'm like, yeah. And then you just kind of guide it and direct it. And it's like, hey, I found this thing. I'm like, yeah, go more in that
go
one.
Do that,
like,
yeah.
Go look at the web server code inside that firmware. I'm like, now, go tell me about any vulnerabilities that are
see this anywhere else?
And it's like, oh, I found this vulnerability. I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, can you write an exploit for it? It's like, yeah, I can write an exploit for it. I don't know if I asked it that directly or if it just kind of inferred that, like, yeah, I want software to test for that vulnerability. Heck yeah, I do. And it ended up finding a vulnerability in dealing software. Now, I think this one may have been previously disclosed or just a different point in the code that was because it was in end-of-life dealing firmware. I may be sitting on a 0-day, but it's for dealing firmware that already has half a dozen 0-day or vulnerabilities that have been disclosed and they're not updated.
We can always use more.
We can always use one.
Dude, it's like WEP. Like WEP has been broken 7 ways to Sunday. We can break it.
What's one more? That's what I figured. I figured out how to break dealing software. I'm like, this is really awesome. And then I see the Kev update. I'm like, yeah, this is a problem that we have not solved with end-of-life router firmware. No. Older firmware contains so many vulnerabilities that even a lightly contextualized Claude model can go find vulnerabilities is a testament to just like how riddled this software is. And I mean, to Dealing's credit, it is end of life, but we haven't solved the problem of how do we fix all of the routers that have been deployed that have this end-of-life software that has all these vulnerabilities that people write exploits for that we talked about last week, where I think it was it Trail of Bits or someone enhanced the exploit chains for some of these to make them more reliable and more ubiquitous. I'm like, we've got a huge problem on our hands.
Oh, huge. I mean, from the work that we do day to day, similar types of problems, like end-of-life hardware that you cannot push an update to because the mechanism doesn't exist, and you may not even be able to contact the user because it was never registered, so you can't tell who it belongs to.
But there's a talk about this. Oh, sorry. There was a talk about this. You missed it.
B-Sides?
Unless you went to B-Sides Las Vegas and you saw the talk. End-of-life equipment should not mean the end of your life. I wasn't at B-Sides Las Vegas, so I can't tell you how this talk went, but I hope they post a video because I really want to watch this talk.
Yes, I need to watch this because this is really important to some of the stuff that I do day to day.
Yeah, it's really important day to day for both of us, right? I'm like, I want to be really awesome at finding end-of-life devices and software because to me, that's the finding.
Yeah.
And arguably, one of the most important findings when you're doing vulnerability scanning and discovery in your organization, the vulnerabilities that can't be fixed are some of the highest priority ones. This is a device I got to get rid of, or I got to find some really creative solution so that I reduce the risk of someone exploiting that vulnerability. Both of those things are really hard, but the impact and the probability of this is really high. Like probability of someone exploiting it and impact is really high because I can't fix it. So, I mean, fix it with a software patch because no one's going to make a software patch unless you make your own software patch for it. But that's really dicey.
And some of these types of things, you're finding these devices, and we're starting to get some ideas about where some of these end of life devices are, and they may have been included in solutions by a system integrator, and like, oh yeah, it works, so we don't ever need to worry about that because the solution integrator built this thing for us, and you turn it on and it's done because the people aren't technology people. They don't know. You plug it in and it works, and who cares?
Right.
So
the solution integrators get paid when it starts working, not when it stops.
Exactly. So it just works. It just works. We don't ever have to worry about it. It's got firmware on it that's 8 years old. It's been an end-of-life device. It's completely vulnerable, but it works, and we don't know that it's vulnerable. We don't need updates. We plug it in when we need it during those times of year, and it works.
How many devices do you have in your house right now that have end of life? God knows how long ago.
Wait, that are running or that are sitting on a shelf because I'm hacked them or I'm planning on.
Yes, this is a very important distinction.
That are running and actually in production.
I can think
good percentage, right?
I can think of 4 devices off the top of my head in my house that are up, running, and have been end of life.
And what's telling? Other than manual research, though, what's telling you that?
Well, one, they are the 3 set-top boxes provided by Verizon.
Wow!
Because I had one fail, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know if we have any of those to replace it with in the depot." Because we don't support those anymore. I'm like, well, send me new ones for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, Verizon, the ISPs and our cable providers should be managing end of life on their own gear and sending you new stuff.
The other one is
that should be the advantage of using their gear is they should send you new shit because you paid them all that money per month.
The other one is that it's the Verizon modem that they provided to as part of the internet.
Yeah.
And the only reason I still have it is because it connects to the internet and it pulls down the channel guide information and pumps it back out the cable over Mocha to populate the set-top boxes so that it can do the recordings.
See, I got rid of all that stuff and I just do YouTube TV.
Yeah, I know.
And you can record stuff on there and it's all in the cloud and I pay, I don't know, YouTube TV used to be cheap back in the day, but now it's a pretty...
You can record stuff on there kind of like DVR?
Yeah.
All right.
You just flag stuff to record. You can set filters. So I'm like, every New England sports team, I'm just record all the games. So when my kids and I want to go watch football, basketball for whatever Celtics,
I didn't know you could record stuff like that. Okay, yes. I need to look at that because
I haven't reached any kind of limit on it either. Because obviously NFL football games are pretty big, pretty long, like 3.5 hours with commercial. But the lovely part about watching NFL football, and qualifying that with NFL football because we're international audience and real football is what we call soccer here in the U.S. But NFL football is 3.5 hour recording, but so much of it is commercials, timeouts, announcers talking. So I'm like, my time's valuable. I just want to watch the game.
Yep.
And so I try and tune out like what's happening, and then later on at night, I'll just skip the
30-second skip.
Skip.
We refer to that action, the 30-second skip in our house, as boop, boop, boop.
Yep.
Do you know why? Do you remember the first...
TiVo used to do the boop, boop, boop.
When you couldn't do the 30-second skip, but when you could fast forward through commercial, when you press the button, it goes boop, boop. And you do it again, it goes boop, boop. So it was boop, 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 boop.
Is a skip of the ad.
It was the fast forward through the commercials. That was the... So our kids will take control of the remote for the DVR, and all of a sudden we're watching a commercial, and my wife will turn to one of the kids and go, boop, 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 boop.
Are you serious?
Serious. Boop, 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 boop. Awesome. The kids don't know it as fast forwarding through the commercials. They know it as boop, 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 boop.
Right.
Because that's the sound the TiVo used to make when you put the fast forward through the commercials.
TiVos, I had the set-top boxes, I had HD Home Run, I had all that technology, and then I was an early adopter of YouTube TV, and I'm like... This is so much easier than managing all of it, like Plex servers and all that stuff. I'm like, you know what? I just so much easier. It's an app that'll run on pretty much anything.
Yep. A couple of years ago, I tasked a certain person in our household, who shall remain nameless, with investigating what it cost us to get all of the shows we wanted to, whatever streaming services that we needed to watch all of the shows that we currently have in our repertoire. So that we could eliminate the cost of the set-top boxes and cable. And I'm still waiting for those results. But now that I know that we can do those things with something like YouTube TV.
Can I tell you something, honestly?
Yeah.
We cut the cable cord 16 years ago. And every time we travel and go to a hotel where there's cable TV, we turn it on like, wow. And then 15 minutes later with all the damn ads, we're like, screw this, and turn it off. Yeah. Even though there's ads on Hulu, even though there's ads on many of the streaming services, they're infinitely less than on cable TV.
They're less,
cut the damn cord already. Seriously, dude.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, we have plenty of streaming. We pay plenty. We have Hulu, we have Netflix, we have Disney Plus, we have Amazon Prime, we have Macs. We have
Apple TV.
Apple TV. That's all we use is Apple TVs.
Peacock.
We don't have Peacock really. No, actually, I think we do
because
have
it
Peacock.
depends on what you want to watch, man. If you're a
Right.
Star Trek fan, you've got, what is it? Is it Peacock that has all the Star Trek stuff?
I think so.
One of them has all the Star Trek stuff that
the
nothing
point
else
is,
has.
I can spin up a streaming service for a few months and turn it off if I want.
And turn it off. That's what we do. Yeah. Oh my God.
I can, or I can leave them just. I mean, Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, we never turn off. Okay, and Amazon Prime, because we have Amazon Prime, it never turns off.
Yep.
But like any of the other ones, we want this. Okay, we'll take it. FiOS, Verizon FiOS gave us Max for a couple of years for free.
Yep.
How did we get down this rabbit hole? I don't remember.
I don't know. But
anyway,
F it. Set-top boxes. Set-top boxes.
Oh. Yeah, set-top boxes. Yeah, which outdated devices? Yeah, four
outdated
of them.
devices.
Four of them. The 3 set-top boxes and the device that supports the set-top box. I can guarantee. And I know that one of those is unsupported because the cat peed on it and it broke, and I had to buy a new to me one off of eBay, and I think I paid $6 for it. And I plugged it in and it worked.
Oh, dear God. Seriously, cut the cord. Get rid of it. It's not worth the damn time having cable TV. It wastes so much of your day in commercials. So next story. Go for it.
Introducing runtime memory protection. This looks like a fairly new security vendor called Prelude Security. And while I do love this approach, my caveats, but it says this solution focuses on the universal step required for all cyber attacks, execution of code on an endpoint. Rather than try and predict endless attacker techniques, Prelude detects out-of-context execution situations where code paths not intended by the original application are run. This covers many in-memory attacks like code injection, exploitation, and fileless malware. Well, I agree. Huge problem. Definitely a class of malicious software that you can and should detect that behavior on your endpoints, but it's not everything. Because what do attackers do? They use abused credentials. They use signed drivers. They use built-in utilities. And as all of you know, attackers that dwell outside of the operating system aren't beholden to operating system level protections. So if you're living in UEFI, add-on components, that detection is still extremely difficult. And sure, if you're in one of those components, you may still have to interact with the operating system, but as long as you're not like forking a process out of another process or doing anything that looks malicious, if you're living off the land, how are you going to detect those style attacks? Now, I don't want to completely discount this company's solution. I think it's a great way to do detection of a particular class of vulnerabilities. It is not the end all be all. Great way to detect malicious behavior, but like you're not done, right? Because there's still so many other ways. I think attackers are leaning towards living off the land, using virtualization, spinning up a VM and doing malicious stuff in a VM. Now how are you going to detect it, right? So I think like we're not done yet. There's lots of techniques. You look at Hacker Summer Camp this year, lots of techniques that are living off the land, getting outside of the operating system, because we've put so many protections in the operating system. And look, this one sounds great. Don't get me wrong. It sounds great. But we put so many protections in the operating system. I think the likely path for attackers is to go, well, how do I just get outside the operating system? And there's so many examples, albeit not ones that are talked about every single day, but we have so many examples of UEFI malware. We just talked about an example of attackers that can live in a daughter board inside of your computer. If attackers can live outside of where the defenses are, that's where they're going to live. Hence why they're going after SSL VPN appliances, firewalls, things like that. Because we don't have great visibility. We don't have EDR on these devices. They're like, great, I can compromise it. I can run any kind of code I want and pivot into the internal network, do my ransomware, extortion, whatever I want to do, because I'm living on this device that's outside of your visibility. So again, I think, obviously I've never heard of Prelude Security before. Great concept, awesome. Like I would totally use it. I would. But realizing that it only solves a certain portion of the problem that I think is very concerning for us.
Yeah, I think this has been built into Windows for a while. The last several versions have had protection where you cannot enter a library except at the official entry points and so on. So they already have something that seems a lot like this.
Yeah, probably components of it, Sam, and not the full kind of stack of what they're building. Because the article's pretty in depth about what they're doing. There's some other articles covering it. I'm like, I get it. I'm like, that's cool. Again, the operating system. But then we go to what's built in the operating system is Windows Defender.
Right.
And that is one of my stories in here.
Oh, I saw that.
Hold on. I had a story about this. Oh, throttle stop driver is abused to terminate AV processes. So this malware uses a signed Windows kernel driver.
So story 16.
Yeah, story 16, and they're using the access that driver has to the kernel APIs to enumerate processes and kill anything that is an EDR or antivirus. Now, Kaspersky says their product is resilient to this, which is kind of interesting. So now we've got
You mean
Windows
the one that
Defender.
You can't use in this country?
Right. But like names aside, I'm not knocking Kaspersky or Windows Defender. But like let's put EDR and AV into buckets. Some can be resilient to a signed kernel driver with the ability to stop those processes, and some are not resilient to that, right? But how resilient are the ones that are saying, oh, you can't kill my process, you can't subvert my process? I think eventually attackers are just going to get frustrated and like, oh, like someday signed drivers aren't doing what I need it to do to kill the AV, so therefore I just need to implant in UEFI or somewhere else, get in before the operating system, even in the bootloader, to be effective at killing the AV. Because then I'm before that process, right? That's where, again, that's my day job, right? But that's where I think this is going. I think attackers are having pretty good success. As an attacker, if I can get in, I can load a signed driver and be like, oh, I can just kill the AV, and I can kill 40-50% of them that are out there in the market today. That's awesome. What happens when that number drops to 10%? And the attackers go, wow. Oh, God. If there was only a way that I could more reliably kill more EDR or AV out there, and I hate to give attackers ideas, but if you get in before the operating system, 100%, you can do that. Which was the researcher Kazuki. I don't know if I mentioned him before. Japanese researcher from FFRI Security, I think is the firm he works for, out of Japan. Amazing research. Last year, Kazuki presented at Black Hat about using option ROMs to evade detection. Now, an option ROM is a little bit of software in what we call a driver, right? But it's not an operating system driver. It's a UEFI driver. So UEFI loads. It's like, hey, I see there's a network card there, but I don't know how to load it. I don't know how to talk to it. And it goes to the network card, like, can you help me out with that? And the card goes, oh yeah, I've got an option ROM. Now maybe sign it, maybe not. There's some conjecture about how we sign, how we validate signing. It's like, hey, here's some code that's signed that is enough code for you, UEFI, to go load the network and do what you need to do. What if you were to put malicious code in there? That was 2024 Black Hat, how to subvert and get into the UEFI via option ROMs. Very, very real option ROMs, I think, are still ripe attack surface. This year's talk is, did we talk about this one already? Where he puts the malware in, we did, at the top of the show.
Yeah.
We talked about that, right? These are the kinds of things that I think attackers are going to adopt, right? Now we've got multiple years of Black Hat talks talking about how to do this. To me, this is priming the pump for attackers becoming frustrated within the operating system going, hey, wasn't there Black Hat research that we can go implement, and there's a GitHub with a proof of concept that we can mold and morph, and we can just shove that right into our ransomware or whatever malware we have and have a much better time getting around EDR. That's where I think the future is. It could be a year, it could be 5 years, but I think that's where we're going.
So what do you think is going to happen to EDR in general?
You got really quiet all of a sudden there, Josh. You may have moved away from the mic.
I did. I'm terribly sorry. So, is this a problem for EDR permanently?
Well, a couple things might happen. EDR could just go on and try and sell with what they can detect and prevent today and kind of sweep this problem under the rug and be like, no, we're still effective. We're still good. Attackers are still going to do something that trips us up that we can detect, right? Which it may be the case. Like at some juncture, an attacker may do something where an EDR or AV is like, oh, hey, wait, that's suspicious, right? We talked about the prelude security, like, oh, like that's suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
The other route they could go is they could start trying to implement detection for these evasions that live outside the operating system, which from my vantage point, it's kind of a significant disadvantage because of the research and R&D required to effectively analyze UEFI, as an example, and put detections and preventions in there is a huge R&D effort. I think the reason why they haven't done that, and the Three Buddy Problem talked about this like several months ago, is their customers aren't asking for it. So their customers they're not going to the CrowdStrikes of the world and going, hey, I want you to help prevent malware that's going to live in UEFI and try and get around your protections. The business driver just isn't there. When it is, I think a couple things might happen. They're going to build up R&D and they're going to build this capability, or they're just going to start buying companies that already know how to do this. I don't know. That's just my market assumption. Whether or not those companies will sell is not up to me.
We'll
But
see.
those are the two kind of paths, right, that I see.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
I got a story if we're ready to move on.
Please tell me it's your LoRa story.
It's not, but it can be after that.
Okay.
Please.
The one that I want to hear about is Sam's story number 4, because I think you'll think this is hilarious, Paul.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was pretty good. So this Ukrainian soldier was pinned down and couldn't get out. So they delivered a whole e-bike by a drone. So he got really big drones. The first one got shot down.
Really big drone.
The second one failed.
They have those foldable e-bikes that'll still do like 20 miles an hour, dude.
Oh, yeah. But I guess they're pretty heavy. But anyway, the drone could do it. So this is what they've been doing. They've been rescuing soldiers this way. They deliver a bike for you to ride out.
Right. The heavy part is the battery. The battery is the heavy part, obviously.
Right. Now, the Amazon delivery drones only carry 5 pounds, but I guess you can make them much bigger.
Oh, yeah. No. That's
because like camera. What is it? An e-bike that can do 20 miles an hour with somewhat good range, it's got to weigh more than 5 pounds.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it does.
I have an e-bike. I have my e-bike is massive, though.
You just need a bigger drone.
Heavy. It's pretty heavy. It's at least 20 pounds. At least.
Yeah. Josh, you were going to say something there?
Yeah, there's a 16-minute video on it on the operation on YouTube. They filmed the whole thing.
But dude, like how is that not a page right out of James Bond? I'm a huge James Bond fan. I've watched all the movies, right? Like this is totally something where like Bond is trapped and there's a drone that drops an e-bike and he rides, and then the e-bike also has machine guns on it and it's shooting at the enemy behind him as he's driving away, right? That's the James Bond version of this.
Yep. It's
100%. I think we've seen that in a James Bond. Maybe not an e-bike, but some kind of vehicle that Bond uses to escape capture. Yep. To me, it's right out of the movies.
Yep. Both sides are now making widespread use of e-bikes and motorcycles for quick infantry assaults after 3 years of drone warfare have wiped out many of the traditional armored vehicles.
Well, did you see?
Because you're smaller, faster, lighter, not easily detectable as a tank.
Earlier in the war, did you see what the Ukrainians were doing some brilliant stuff. They literally had units mounted on e-bikes with javelins and anti-tank rockets. And what they would do is they would literally get a report. Hey, we see we see, this is before they had anti-tank weapons on drones, for God's sakes.
Yep.
But we see a tank or 3 tanks or whatever coming up the road for this play, blah, blah, blah. These guys would pedal and use the battery out and just wait. And since there's just a couple of people, like you don't really see them. The tanks are moving pretty fast. They pop up over the crest of a hill. Bang. Tank goes bye-bye. Next tank goes bye-bye. 3 teams of them. And then there's like 6 guys, which, by the way, is the crew of one of those tanks. They've just destroyed 3 times their manpower. Right. And, $100,000 worth of hardware versus 3 tanks is 90 million times 3.
Mm-hmm.
Win.
I think I hacked my e-bike to go, I believe it's 33 miles per hour.
When this thing gets up to 33 miles an hour, you're going to see some serious shit.
Yep. Not quite 88, but I tell you what, 33 miles per hour, you're moving at a pretty good clip.
Yeah.
If you want to move on a battlefield, you're moving at 33 is a pretty good clip. And it has the bonus of being like completely silent. Like it's not a motorcycle. It doesn't have a engine. It's completely silent.
Or very close
very
to being
quiet.
silent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still get the hum of the motor
And the tires on the road.
And the tires on the road.
noise.
Yeah. You do hit the road noise, but you're moving at a good clip at a pretty stealthy noise level.
Yep. All right, so now we can do the LoRa one.
Yeah. From the cables. Come on.
Well, yeah, Tempest LoRa. Oh my word! So LoRa has become a huge deal in our space, especially with Meshtastic. Yep, it seems like every device that we are seeing in the community is Meshtastic enabled. In fact, somebody I know through Sands is the member of the Lonely Hackers Club, and they had a Meshtastic enabled badge this year that was on pre-order a couple months ago, and I ordered one, so I've got to pick it up. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the DEF CON badge isn't Meshtastic enabled, given that
what's the DEF CON badge going to be this year?
There is a Meshtastic web flasher. So defcon.meshtastic.org. You can flash the DEF CON Meshtastic firmware onto your device.
Yeah,
and
you were telling me
and it
earlier.
automatically enables all of the DEF CON channels in specific modes with specific keys and MQTT configuration onto your device. So it's not too late yet, and you can still do this while you're at DEF CON. So lots of fun there. So LoRa is just exploding from a usage perspective.
Do you think they did that because the badge is going to have Meshtastic on it?
Honestly, I think they probably did it to support the community, and they saw what happened at ShmooCon, where there was such an active out-of-band community with Meshtastic at ShmooCon. Yep, exactly. Josh is holding up his pager that he got. Mine's sitting on my desk at home.
I got one of those too.
And I've fully embraced some of this Meshtastic stuff, except there's not a lot around here, and we need to change that, Paul.
Yep.
So calling all of our local hackers to start setting up some relays and repeaters. And so
I got
forth.
2 T-Decks and a T-Relay at my house now that I just finished setting up the T-Decks. I've got to set up
Grand
T-Relay.
Central Station.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yep. So this one is this particular story is quite amazing. A couple of researchers out of China have found that it is possible to transmit data via LoRa by using the spurious emissions from a VGA, or more importantly in this case now, HDMI cable.
I think spurious emissions.
So effectively, a lot of the ways that we were
Should be
using
the name of this episode. Spurious emissions.
Premature spurious emissions.
Oh, I knew you were going there. Where's your HDMI sock? Anyway.
Yes. So similar to ways that we have been doing some radio stuff for a long time for data exfiltration that we've talked about for years on the show.
FM transmitter.
Yeah, the FM transmitter stuff where you're toggling a GPIO pin on and off at a specific cadence and rate and so forth to create RF energy with radio signals.
Yep.
Effectively, they did the same thing to toggle input-output over either VGA or HDMI to send ones and zeros down the cable, turning that cable into a transmitting antenna. But they didn't use special drivers, like in some of the cases we've seen stuff that is like there was a USB 3 to HDMI, USB 3 to VGA converter that with a special driver could transmit GPS signals and a bunch of other stuff, UMTS and others. In this case, they're not creating a special driver to interact with the HDMI or VGA. It's an image.
Oh, really?
You take and it's a little bit harder than this. You get this. Someone emails you a picture, and you open the picture full screen on your computer, and because it is displaying that picture on your computer, it is generating the specific ones and zeros at a specific cadence over the HDMI cable. And it's transmitting LoRa.
Oh my
But
God,
what is it
that's
transmitting? That's the question.
Exactly.
Like physics-wise, that is just absolutely
Physics.
fascinating to me, right? Because it's basically physics at that
It's
point.
physics.
Right?
Yeah. The what is it transmitting? Josh, in this case, it would be that it is transmitting whatever was encoded in the image for it to transmit. So it's not like it's doing remote code execution on your system to gather data to create a custom image, but that could be the next step.
Because it has to be that specific image in order to create the waveform across the cable.
Right.
Correct.
To get LoRa frequencies, to turn that cable into an antenna at the specific
and
frequencies.
to that frequency and for that very specific data that they want to transmit.
However, if you could take if you could isolate which part of that image creates the LoRa transmission, and there's a section that doesn't matter, could you change the image, the section, like almost like an iframe, to be data that you want to exfiltrate?
Right.
Or alternatively, how precise is it to make it transmit LoRa? Can I do steganography inside the image, inside the LoRa transmission?
That's wild.
That's a great question.
That's
like
wild.
That,
what, was this
like
this was Chinese researchers?
It was Chinese researchers, and the I didn't get a chance to actually investigate the paper. I ran out of time, but it was on XR, whatever the
prepress server,
the academic paper. Yeah, RXIV.
ARXIV is the website. Is it run by Cornell University? Their banner is up at the top.
Either way. But still, like, this is some amazing stuff. It is a very low speed, which is what LoRa is. It's also considerably long range. LoRa has the ability in ideal situations to do multiple kilometers of distance, and even in multiple kilometers in not so ideal conditions with the actual well-tuned transmitter. But by using a cable without filters and using an image to generate those waveforms via RF energy, 132 meters.
What does Tempest?
That's roughly 400 feet for those that use Freedom units.
So I could sit in the parking lot, transmit this image, email you this image and go, hey, really cool thing. Can you just open this up for me? Tell me what you see. I see it's like the blue, gold, white dress, whatever the hell the thing was.
Yeah.
And
Rorschach test.
Right.
And you go, well, it's a kitty cat. I go, but meanwhile, my shell code from the image, this is like sort of chaining mediums together. If you could send someone this image and fish them to get them to open it, and use shellcode in the email to get them to get even better data, and change the image dynamically to exfiltrate. This is not going to be friggin' easy, but even somebody's going to do it.
Even better, Josh.
What's that?
Don't send them an image. Send them to a web page.
That generates the image.
That web page generates the image based on data that they have been able to gather from your browser session for data that the browser has access to. Maybe even by enabling some of this other functionality like web serial for connected devices. And
oh God, you could put this on an ad network and just have the ad open full screen. If you made the ad attractive enough, like we know which government agencies are being closed down this week from Doge.
Or maybe ad network. And again, maybe you're being able to tune these images well enough with some time. So what it looks like now is that the images that they are displaying are full screen, that you could do this enough that regardless of what else is on the screen, the part that is being displayed for this image is enough to transmit very small LoRa packets.
Christ.
Does it mean that you can just...
network.
Does it mean like the original Tempest that I can just read the text on your screen from the emitted radiation?
Pretty much. Yeah, but instead of using the emitted radiation to read what's on the screen, it's actually sending data in a different format, in a different wireless
This is like the Tempest, technology. The hard drive LEDs. This is
it's a covert channel.
Yep.
The covert channel, and it's fascinating. I mean, I don't think it's going to be incredibly useful, but it's fascinating. Somebody somewhere is going to make use of this at some point, and holy crap, is it going to be ugly?
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah. Speaking of pretty wild.
Yeah, speaking of pretty wild, I want to. Does that still work? Yes, it does. So those watching the video can see this, and I happened to catch this, I think on social media, that Hack5 has come out with a new Wi-Fi Pineapple that is in the form factor, style, and color of a pager, and in fact, the same pager that is featured in the movie Hackers.
Or at least very similar to the same form factor.
It's very similar,
but
yes.
in arguably in yellow and
When I look at this in yellow, I'm like, that's the pager from the movie Hackers, right?
Yep.
Like very, very close. Now there are projects that allow you to build and or acquire I've seen multiple projects because I've always wanted to have my own pager that is a replica from the movie. If I had a lot of money, I would probably go buy the actual prop from the movie. I would imagine that someone in their display case somewhere,
Dave Kennedy
probably has the pager from Hackers in a display case.
Only if it was in Back to the Future. Like he has
he's got
some Hacker. I think he's got the jacket from Hackers, or was that?
Does he? I didn't realize that.
No, maybe that's a jacket from Back to the Future.
Either way,
they came out with this, and I don't often go spend the money on Hack5 products because, well, one, I'm not a professional penetration tester any longer. I'm more of a hobbyist when it comes to some of these things. However, when I saw this, I was like, I have to have it. Like, that is so cool to have. And and when you dig through the details, I'm like, it's a fully functioning Wi-Fi Pineapple in the form factor of a pager.
Yep.
Now, poo-poo this what you want. Like, I know there's some in our community that are like, oh, it's rubber duckies and pineapples, and it's cute, and then it's not like real. Get over yourself.
But arguably over the last number of years, they've actually turned some of the stuff into real hacking tools. And with support and I remember back in the day, it was like, oh yeah, these are kind of like script kiddie-ish type of tools, and it wasn't really useful in an enterprise pen test. They have come a long way, and
Dragon works for Hack5
because they realized that the target audience for them is not the script kiddies and it's not the noobs, it's the people that they were targeting initially 20 years ago that were in those cases are now professional testers and are working in real organizations.
But speaking of the form factor, I like the form factor.
Yeah.
Because there's something to be said. When I know when Darren had the Wi-Fi Pineapple, I was like, that's kind of cute. But I'm like, it looks like a pineapple, dude. But then future revisions to your point, Larry, I was like, oh, it doesn't look like a pineapple anymore. Like, it's a fully functioning, like, really awesome device with a whole framework for doing it.
And the USB rubber ducky, the first version was
looked like a rubber ducky.
It was a rubber ducky.
Hence the rubber. I don't know where that came. I gotta ask Darren. We gotta bring Darren on the show or something. Give us the history behind a lot of these devices, because I think the story is pretty cool. Because Ducky Script is a whole platform today. However, this form factor is highly functional. It's got amazing features.
Yep, color screen.
But also, like, to be able to clip it somewhere is actually like a functioning form factor that I would use. I could clip this to my shirt or my belt or my bag and have it with me at all times, which is cool. It looks like it's from the movie Hackers, which is one of the reasons I bought it. I'm like, because I've always wanted these things. But also, it's got tri-band Wi-Fi and Bluetooth Low Energy, a 2,000 milliamp battery with USB-C charging, 4 gig eMMC, 256 gigs of RAM, LEDs, vibration, buzzers, and it supports all the Ducky. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I'm like, that's a cool little hacking device.
Yep.
$300. I know you're paying for not just the form factor, the R&D, the technology that goes into it, the whole framework and whatnot. But that's to me, that's wild.
I wouldn't be surprised that I talked with Darren a number of years ago when they did the Pineapple Mark IV, I think it was, when they built their own hardware.
Yeah,
right.
They actually contracted with someone to build their own hardware.
Oh, no, dude, it's legit.
They went and got it FCC certified,
so
that they could sell it and all of this type of stuff. And
Darren's awesome at this. He's amazing.
When I talked to him, when I was talking to him about that, he's like, "Yeah, in order to make the math for this work, we will be selling the Mark IV for a very long time."
Right.
Because
their margins are low. Yeah.
Well, the margins are low, and in order to support the board design and the FCC testing, he had to order enough of them to put in the warehouse to be able to sell them, to profit from them, to recover that loss. And it was a lot of units.
Yeah, I remember talking with him when he was making that transition from media into selling hardware. He's like, dude, this is where I want to go. I'm like, 100%, I support your decision.
Yeah, but he only made 200 of the damn coconuts. I want a fucking coconut.
Like, a coconut? You mean a pineapple?
No, coconut.
There's coconut? No, wait. There was a coconut.
There was a coconut.
Yes, there was.
Yep.
Covered every channel of the 2.4 gigahertz band.
Oh,
Spectrum.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, he's done some pretty amazing. I mean, he's really embraced the hardware aspect of it, and I give him a lot of credit for that because that's, it's not for the faint of heart, man. As Larry, you're describing, like, it's risky. It's risky. And you've got supply chain issues. You've got to put up a lot of cash up front. You got to market and sell and promote these things and hope that people buy them.
He's marketed and as the team has developed a whole bunch of really great stuff to the point that in the wireless class, like every class we used to get like, but what you could do all that was with a pineapple. So we had to address the fact that you could do this with a pineapple and put the pineapple in the class. Same thing. You asked the same question today. ChatGPT or Claude, how do I put Ducky script?
Right.
Like Ducky script is the standard language now for writing implants via USB. Like, amazing. And also, as a huge congratulations to the Hack 5 folks, 20
years. Yeah, because they started around the same time we did.
Yep. And well, this 100%. They released this because of their 20-year anniversary.
Yeah.
20 years. 20 years they've been doing Hack 5 stuff.
But what's amazing is there's a lot of forks in different hardware that you can do the same thing.
Yep.
And to my knowledge, like Hack 5 has never been like, oh, you should buy our stuff. They're like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like whatever. Like they've coexisted with the hackers and makers of the world that are like people like me and Larry and so many others that are like, oh, I can do that for much cheaper and it's a lot more work.
Mm-hmm.
And I give Hack 5 a lot of credit for making gear that's like, you know what? This works really well. It's got a whole R&D process behind it. It's got a community. It's got support. It's got libraries. It's got payloads. It's got usability.
Mm-hmm.
That, could we do this on our own? Could we make something that looks like this? Sure, we could. Be a lot of friggin' work, man. You know what I mean?
In fact, I really hope that Darren is at DEF CON, and I really hope that I can grab 5 minutes of his time.
I think there's going to be a really long line for the Hack 5 booth. I guarantee you, though, if once Darren and the others...
Josh, you're on mute, I think.
Once Darren sees you standing in line, he's going to be like, oh...
Larry, get your ass up here. I think you'll have...
Right. That's the kind of person Darren... We've known Darren for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, it wouldn't necessarily be that to be in line. I just want to walk up and talk to him because we had a conversation a number of years ago, and quite honestly, I thought he was crazy, and
that's not ruled out.
And he was well before his time.
Yes,
and the things that he was talking about weren't that he wanted to do weren't legal, and he wanted to find a legal way to do it.
Yeah, dude, he's always been a visionary.
And I think the time is now. And that's all I'm going to say because
he's been working on this pager thing for a long time. Yeah. He's like, dude, we've been talking about this. I watched the video, a portion of the video where he was announcing this, and he was like, dude, we've been working on this for like a long time. Like, the concept is really old. Mm-hmm. We prototyped it. Like, it's been a long time we've been working on this to actually bring it to market. So, like, I'm super happy for the folks at Hack 5 to actually bring this to market because I think it's a cool thing. Yeah. I bought one. I mean, I pre-ordered one because I'm not going to be at DEF CON, and I guarantee you that line for Hack 5 to get a pager Wi-Fi pineapple is going to be a really long line. They're going to sell out.
So
good for him.
So based on some of those other conversations that I had with him, maybe a decade ago, I think the time is now to make that happen because it can be legal. And I'd love to help and maybe get on board with some of that. So
awesome. Well, we're a little over time. I want to thank everyone for listening and watching this edition of Paul's Security Weekly. Have fun at Hacker Summer Camp. See everyone when you get back. Larry, take us out.
Over and to the desert.